All right, so let me show you guys how to get to the assignment one more time, just in case you forgot for whatever way. Ooh, Anaya, you already know I'm still your favorite teacher. It's okay. You ain't gotta try to do all that canceling thing, man. Cancel culture is wrong. You guys should stop all that. Well, that's okay. They could be jealous. You know what I tell people that are jealous about that? Get better. Or wait. What do y'all say? Get good. I think that gamers say that, or a bunch of, I don't know, whatever. I can't believe I'm recording this to put on my website. My people are gonna watch this and be like, "This is the worst teacher ever." He's literally just annoying his kids. Oh, Rachel, we're not getting into this build different stuff.
Salty because we did fun class.
Oh yeah, they might be salty. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so let me share the screen. Let's go ahead and show you guys where we at. Which let me go. I didn't start anything, Rachel. I finished things. I finished things. Well, whatever. Do you guys see the screen now? You guys see the website on your screens? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we are trying to get to this document right here that we know is due tonight for homework by 11:59. It is Dbq practice day 4, and we are doing document analysis. So, well, I'm not up on the chat right now. Let me check the chat real quick. So old. Oh, geez, Jeremiah, false information. I'm still your favorite. It's okay. Mr. Lamar, if you're watching this. All right. So how to get here is pretty simple, y'all. You know this by now. But just in case, you go to the AP World part of the website, go to Writing for the AP exam, and you're going to scroll down to the DBQ part of the website. Come on down past short answer into DBQ document-based question section. You're going to go to the Dbq Skills Practice, ladies and germs. You're going to click on it. It's going to open up an awesome, amazing Google folder from the best website that you've ever seen from a teacher. I should get a bunch of like hashtag facts in the chat right now. Yeah. Well, I got a hashtag no. Wow. Attack on Titan is feeling pretty salty this morning.
I wore that jacket one time. The one time you saw me. Chill, Mr. Mathos.
I wait a second. Y'all say this too. I have no chill. No, rainbow bright, ain't no sunny bright. See, and here we go. DBQ practice day number 4, document analysis. You get directly to your homework that is due tonight at 11:59 p.m. Hey, Titan, what else do you like then so I can switch the name up?
I don't know. My name?
Your name? Okay. Well, I guess now that you said that you want me to call you your name, I actually have to do that, which is no fun, but okay, Rachel. Oh, Sanaya still trying to cancel him. I'm immune to cancellation culture. Not going to happen. All right. So last class, we did the example. We did, oh, sorry, just got to admit somebody there. We did the example and we did number 1. What I want to do today is at least give you one more. Okay, so I don't know if you started it yet, if you're in the middle of this assignment, but no matter what, I want to give you guys a few more examples to work off of. So I believe we did number 1 together, right, y'all? All right, so yes. Yeah, we did number 1 together. Okay, I'm getting some affirmation here, or confirmation from the class. So let's go to number 2. Okay, and again, just as a reminder, when we do this, and here's the sourcing poster, which you can find on my website, as you know, in the same area you found everything else in the DBQ files. This sourcing poster is basically the easiest way to start your analysis. For every document that you see, you only have to choose one of the 4. You could choose historical context, purpose, point of view, or audience. Okay, so hip or hap, whichever way you want to see it. You're choosing one for each of the documents. So in order to do this, make it even easier for you guys, is just this sourcing poster. You know, so if you want to source this upcoming document, and the documents will kind of shape you, they'll kind of tell you, hey, this is going to be kind of easy to source for X, Y, or Z. It's kind of like when we did number one. I thought this was, screaming that we can source this for purpose or historical context. And I think I remember showing you guys the exemplar. For exemplar meaning like the one that I did myself. It's not fancy, it's just a name for it. All right. I'm fancy. You're still trying to cancel me. Okay. It's okay, Rainbow Bright. You keep up with that. By the way, you can't ever call me fancy when my most fancy shoe is Under Armour. All right. You can't be doing that to me. As you should. Take back your comments. You know what's gonna be funny is that when I watch this back on YouTube to make sure there's no like too many weird things I can't put in there, it's gonna be like Sanaya's talking and she's not unmuting, so no one hears that. They only hear my responses, and it's gonna look like I'm crazy. Whatever. Let me bring the exemplar up on the screen so we can kind of re-examine it. I'm sorry, Sanaya is distracting me. You could blame her. I don't want to hear it, Sanaya. You still talking, but I ain't listening. Okay, here we go. Through this, and I even showed you guys what I did, and I told you why I chose I chose historical situation for this, but I think that when you looked at this particular document, you could have oh geez, what did I just do? You could have just as easily have done purpose. When we were reading this document for the first time, we were like, oh, this lady is probably not telling the truth because she needs that money from her kids, working. So she's going to downplay or even just outright lie about the conditions that her family is working in because they need that income from her kids working in those mines and those factories. So we would consider this an unreliable sort of source. But that's just one way we could do it. A few classes ago, somebody said we could also do it for audience. We could source this for audience because, if this wasn't, the Ashley committee checking out conditions or investigating abuses in the coal mines, like if this was maybe her friend, we would most likely be getting the truth from her, more so than what she is saying, kind of putting a positive spin on everything. All right, so that's something that just to jog your memory of these things. But the easiest way to do this, guys, is to remember these questions. If you're going to source for purpose, make sure to answer those questions, and you should be able to get a decent amount of analysis out of them. So let's go straight into it, y'all. Let's do number 2. All right, if you've done it already, you can put your answer in the chat, or you can raise your hand. Wait a few minutes, but then you could raise your hand, and we'll kind of go through it together. But for now, let's take 5 minutes. Let's read the document. Make sure to pay attention to the sourcing. Who is the source of this document? Because that's going to matter. Milaf already got it in there. All right, cool. I'm not going to look at your answer. Don't look at Milaf's answer yet. POV is one of the hard ones, Milaf, okay? But let me check what I did. It's Friday.
We are not Rebecca Black. We're not doing that.
Tier. Shariza, we're on the next one. But I'll check yours out anyway, okay? You're all good. You're all good. I think you could use, remember that's not an article. It was kind of an interview. It's like an excerpt from an interview. So you got to make sure you're checking your source right there. She's being interviewed by this committee. They're already working. It's not persuading them to kind of have these kids work. It's maybe trying to keep these kids working. You know, because the committee was there to investigate abuses. So what you're hoping to do is to, she's trying to like say like, oh, there's no abuses going on here. These kids they're fine. They should still be able to work in the mines and things like that because her family needs that income from the kids working. You know, if they were to find enough abuses, maybe they'd shut down, you know, or make laws to provide against child labor. And the reason I use historical context to source mine is because this is during the Industrial Revolution. We have a lot of knowledge about how during the Industrial Revolution, there were abuses in the factories. There was, you know, very bad working conditions for women and children in these mines. And there were deformities based upon that, black lung, you know, diseases, things like that were born from working in these conditions. So we know for facts that these were bad conditions, and she's just trying to, you know, and not cover it up, but put a positive spin on it. All good. Just in a few minutes here. Let's see if we can get some good things here. I'm gonna start checking yours, Milov, okay? Okay, so once you have yours, guys, start putting it in the chat or start raising your hand, and I can call upon you guys and we could get this thing rolling, because I'm going to give you this one more example so you at least have 2 to do on your own, and we'll review those other 2 next class. And Mila, you did a good job. You did a good job, but I don't think that POV is the right way to go. Your point of view is when you are analyzing the source of the information. That means you'd be looking at Johann Gottfried, you'd be looking at, I don't know how to say them, Johann Gottlieb Fichte, and you'd be looking at him and why he's saying it and his motivations and how does his class or his gender have anything to do with what he's saying, you know? I think, and even in your, yes, he is, your actual paragraph here, you're saying he's giving him something to relate to. He's hoping to persuade the nation of Germany to do this. You sourced for purpose. Look at the questions for purpose. You can go to the sourcing poster to do that. Why was the source created? Are there any ulterior motives? You kind of answered those questions in a way for that one. If you read yours again, you see what I'm saying? So you may have said POV, but I think purpose is what you did. All right, how we doing, everybody? Are we about ready to either type it in the chat or raise hands and unmute? How we doing? I'm only going to do one today, so. Austin, you don't have to put which sourcing thing you did. I'm only doing that for you guys right now, so you can clearly see how it aligns. But when we're doing like actual DBQs, no, you don't have to put like what you actually source for. It's just a tool right now to help you guys kind of identify what you're doing. People are typing it in the chat. I could hear some keys clicking and stuff. So I'll wait a minute. All right, I got somebody putting something in the chat now. I think everybody else is typing or getting it in there. So let's check it out. Okay, Nina, I'm looking at yours and I'm reading yours. One thing I think you are kind of missing here is kind of like the motivation here. I see you're trying to say like finding comfort in it, but it looks as if you're kind of glossing over that this is the German nation when they were occupied by Napoleon, meaning, and remember, Napoleon is a part of the French. Napoleon was a French leader, kind of a military dictator. So the Germans are being occupied, meaning that their country is being invaded and settled upon by these French. He's trying to bring in these nationalist sentiments, but you think it's only for comfort. I think he's trying to get them to do more than just that. And you kind of address it at the end, motivate his peoples to fight back. So overall, I think you do well with it. But I think you could be more straightforward with what you're trying to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like you beat around the bush a little bit. I think you'd be more straightforward. Does anybody else want to give it a shot here? Remember, I'm just doing this to help you guys kind of get some feedback and affirm your knowledge. If you want me just to kind of like go through my thought process like I did for the first one and kind of show you mine, I'm fine with that too. Again, this is entirely just to help you guys, nothing else. Not try to embarrass anybody or anything like that. The only person I try to embarrass is, I wasn't gonna say it. I was gonna say it, but I was like, nah, let me stop picking on her for a little bit. I'll give it another minute here, but it's been a little bit here, so I will go through my thought process, Nina, Rachel, definitely. I will definitely go over it. I just want to give it another minute for people to either copy or paste or type in their answers, no matter what. Okay, I'm not getting anybody else to put theirs in here. That's a little depressing, sixth period. I thought you liked me better than that. Let's go into what I did with mine. I'm going to go ahead and bring the example. So I actually wanted to take off a little bit of what I did because I kind of did like a little bit more than I probably should have with this one. So I took it down a little bit here. So I'm looking at the source. Johann Gottlieb, he's a German philosopher, addresses to the German nation during the occupation by Napoleon. So immediately, I'm thinking about this and I'm like, occupation by Napoleon. They probably just lost in a war. They just lost in a battle or war, and France is occupying at least part of or all of Germany. Okay, or what we know as the German countryside right now. Our earliest common forefathers bravely resisted the oncoming world dominion of the Romans. So immediately he's tying it to resisting somebody, in this case, the Romans. Freedom meant to them remaining Germans. So immediately, I'm thinking nationalism, remaining Germans. Not correctly, but he is identifying Germans. I am German. We are not trying to be French. We are trying to be German. We didn't want to be Romans. We wanted to be Germans. That identity part of nationalism. Okay. And settling their own independent affairs independently. Original spirit of the race, German race. Be only German, building his children's Germans. This is big, identify as Germans. Okay. So he clearly is trying to harken back to being German and really promote nationalism here, or at least part of nationalism, the identity part of it. So I start off, the author of the speech, Johann Gottlieb, appeared to be invoking these powerful national sentiments in order to specifically motivate German citizens countrywide to revolt and help drive the occupying French army led by Napoleon out of Germany. And that's something that's pretty apparent, I see, in this, where you see, again, French occupation of Germany. He wants everybody to be German and settle their own affairs as Germans. That would require the French to not be there. Okay? By giving this speech, he's hoping to by giving a speech to the German nation where he tells the story of German citizens resisting Roman rule. He's hoping that the people will respond to these romanticized tales and be motivated to act similarly, driving back the Romans, or in this case, driving back the French. And that, I think, is purpose. Okay, that's his motivation behind this. You know, he's not saying this to just say it. His motivation is to motivate these Germans to revolt against the French. Okay, does that help at least a little bit for you guys and going into this? Okay, Nina, perfect. I just want to help you guys anytime we do this. Oh, look at this. Anastasia has decided to join the class. Hello, Anastasia. What's going on?
That's not even her name.
Oh, shoot. I even messed up again. Anastasia has joined the class.
I could not get in, like, no matter what I tried.
You were, oh, so you were that name. Because there was an unfamiliar name, and I messaged the waiting room like 3 times. Hey, who is this?
That wasn't me. I never changed my name.
Okay, because I was like, this is weird. Like maybe that was her, but okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. We've just been discussing the homework. I've recorded everything up to this point, so you can always go back and watch what you missed, because we're pretty much close to being done. I just want to preview going forward what's going to happen maybe next week. I want to expose you guys to a video on thesis writing, because thesis writing is what we're doing next. Okay, so after we do this and we'll go over it next class, we'll be going into thesis writing, and that's kind of that'll be a big deal, because thesis writing is a big deal. Rachel, yeah, historical documents sometimes are hard to understand because, let's be honest, you guys don't read enough. Look, I'm gonna be your honest teacher. You guys don't read enough, and as a result of that, your reading comprehension sometimes is a little lower. So when you combine that problem of not reading enough with reading historical sources that use different kind of words that y'all are not used to, it's going to be harder to do. So what it is that we have to keep practicing with these things. Like, you're going to see more regularly, like at the beginnings of class, I'll have a source up, and it's going to be on us to what is in the document and how can we analyze it. You know, so we'll be getting practice at the beginnings of those classes. And Sanaya, I see you in the chat. I see this. I have the chat on my screen. I'm not even exposing people. I'm just trying to tell y'all the truth. You know what? I do this every year with the kids. You guys want to know why, like, your language arts teachers and stuff like that all say you guys are like bad at writing? Like, you guys or you say you're just not good at writing? You want to know why? It's really simple. Y'all were brought up with word processors. Hold on. Let me tell you my reasons here. Y'all were brought up with word processors, which means you never really ever had to learn to catch a lot of errors because Word did it for you. Oh, you spelled this wrong. Let me put a line underneath it for you. Oh, this is probably the wrong word to put here. Let me put a line under it for you. You know, autocorrect or use another word. Here's a thesaurus that you can actually hear. We'll give you another word. Hold on. The second thing. All right, so I didn't know Word until I came to America, so joke's on you. So Robert, actually that means you're better at it than the kids that grew up here. Not like picking on anybody, but like that is what it is. Another reason why you guys are worse at writing is because look at the way you guys have grew up writing. You grew up writing using messengers and social media and text messaging. Like in the years past, I have literally found @ symbols and abbreviations in papers. Like they'd be sitting there in the middle of a sentence. I'm gonna type it in the chat. Oh, you know, like people will be using that kind of thing. Oh, sorry, I was messaging the waiting room there. My bad. See, like you guys can understand that. So what's funny about this is that you read what I just wrote right there. Don't at me. All right, you already put the word right there. And because you put the word right there, like it is ridiculous, but it's happened, Anastasia. It's happened. And you guys look at your paper, you're proofreading, and you just gloss right over it because you're so used to text messaging and social media that it just flows for you. And you shorten all those words too. I can't even spell abbreviation. I blame Word for that. So yeah, you guys are not really strong readers of historical documents. And to be honest, your writing is lacking because of the crutches that have been put in place for you through all these years. Look at that, look at that. Look at Nina in the chat. Low key, like I've seen low key in a paper before. Like straight up, I've seen it because you guys write like you talk, or you guys write like you talk. Yes, for real. Look at that, FR. Didn't even type out for real. Like even Nina was typing like, I don't really even notice. Don't. Where the O at? Where the apostrophe at? Yeah, okay, so YH. I've seen this a lot. Is YH like, yeah? Like, yeah, but oh, okay. Yeah, ALR. I took a while for me to catch on. That's all right. Right? That is correct, right? All right. Cool. Whew. Got a little like, all right. About to feel real old right there. You trying to still get me on late 70s? Rachel. That's right, Rachel. Now you're Rachel now again. All right. So whatever. That was me ranting there for a second. And that's going to be on recording on YouTube now. Oh, well. But it's true. So who cares? Pog. Oh, what is Pog? Yeah, but I don't do the Twitch games. Like, I'm not a part of that whole Twitch thing. Pog means nice. Oh, okay. Oh, that's where poggers and all the rest of that came from. Okay. Ooh, we learned something new today. Huh? Jeez. Okay. So let me do this. We have finished at least 2 examples. Well, we did the example and we did numbers 1 and 2. You only have 2 left to do, all right? Let me show you, or let me at least talk to you guys real quick. Next week, we are going to be getting into thesis writing. And I'm going to show you a quick video of that before we leave today so we could talk about the thesis and how important it is to your paper. All right. And the next class, we'll get into the working nuts and bolts of the thesis. Next week, you're going to have 2 assignments due. And we will have time in class to work on both of them. Okay, so don't think that it's going to be super duper hard. Wednesday, you'll have the DBQ practice for thesis due. And then Friday, you'll have the contextualization due. Both those things I will be going over in class and giving you time to work on. So be aware of this. Be cognizant that there will be 2 assignments next week, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. Let's talk about a thesis. Okay, you've already got a small taste of it with when we had to make arguments already with the documents. You saw that when we did the Sesame Street example. A thesis is the basis for your paper. If you are not good at thesis writing, your essay will not be good. It's that simple. The thesis is like the foundation for a house. If you try to build your house on some sand, your house will fall. Okay? A strong thesis makes a strong essay, and it actually helps to write itself. Like if you have a good thesis, you can quite literally take the thesis and divide it up, and there's your essay. Do I want to get into it real quick? No, you know what? Let me save that for the next day because I want to give you guys time to work on this right now. But let me show you a quick video because I want you guys just to get exposed to thesis process. And if you could, maybe go and watch some videos this weekend so you're kind of ready for it. And of course, we're going to check with Heimler on this one, okay?
Hi, and welcome back to Heimler's History. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write a perfect thesis statement for your DBQ and your LEQ, and this will work for all the AP histories, AP World, AP US, and AP Euro. Let's get to it. Okay, so what you're about to see is the Thesis Module from a much larger course that I just recorded about how to write all the essays in AP US History, AP World History, and AP European History. The whole course goes over every point of the DBQ, the LEQ, and the SAQ. And if you like what you're about to see, then the whole course is linked down below in the description. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, thesis. What is a thesis? Your thesis is just the argument in miniature for the essay that you are writing. Now, in order to earn this point, the rubric says that you have to respond to the prompt with a historically defensible thesis/claim that establishes a line of reasoning. Okay, let's break that down. Now, there are
In other words, ladies and gentlemen, somebody has to either be able to agree or disagree with you. If you're making an argument, somebody should be able to agree or disagree with you.
There are 2 very important phrases in that definition that I want to draw your attention to. The first is this, historically defensible claim, and the second is establishes a line of reasoning. Now, what that means is that your thesis has to argue for something. If you merely restate the prompt as it is, no point for you. You must argue something. So for example, in the 2017 National Exam for AP US History, the prompt was this. Evaluate the extent of change in ideas about American independence from 1763 to 1783. And here's an example of just restating the prompt. From 1763 to 1783, ideas about American independence changed. Yeah, no doy, but I don't need to know anything about anything to write what I just read. All I did was take the prompt and rearrange the words. It is not historically defensible, and it certainly does not establish a line of reasoning. But let me give you 2 examples of theses that do establish a line of reasoning that are historically defensible, and these come from student samples that the College Board says will earn the point for a thesis. Number 1. From 1763 to 1783, colonial ideas about American independence changed from just questioning British policies to calling for revolution. And the second one is this. From 1763 to 1783, colonial ideas about American independence did not change much because, throughout the period, many colonists continued to oppose the Patriot cause.
You know what I love about DBQs is that both of those theses earn the point. And I love that because they're totally different. And they're arguing 2 totally different things. And that's the beauty about a thesis, and that's the beauty of a DBQ. My boy Milov, who is now being known as Doc, because MD, Milov, whatever, he may argue one thing. And Miss Wallace over here may argue something completely different because their perspective on the documents are different. Therefore, their thesis will be different, and they can both earn the point still, as long as they are using the documents, supporting themselves with the documents accurately, and analyzing them. They can still be completely successful on a DBQ. And this is why I heavily focus on a DBQ rather than other skills that we work on, because DBQs, the points are all there for the taking.
All right, now notice that the first one said that the extent of change was enormous, from mere questioning to full-blown revolution. But the second one said that nothing much changed. You've got two opposing sides here that are arguing different things, but they are both arguments, they are both historically defensible, and they can both draw from the evidence to make their argument. Okay, so just make sure your thesis makes an argument instead of just restating the prompt. Also, your thesis needs to be specific. Now, it's at this point that you're going to have to expunge from your brain folds all that your English teacher taught you about writing theses. You see, in English class, they teach you to make your thesis vague and then fill in the details as you go along in the essay. But your thesis for your AP history essay needs to be stuffed fuller than a Scottish haggis. Don't know what a haggis is? Haggis is a savory pudding containing sheep's heart, liver, and lungs, minced with onion, oatmeal, spices, and salt, mixed with stock, traditionally encased in the animal's stomach. Anyway, in English class, your thesis is just going to be a deflated sheep stomach, and that's it. But in AP history, you're going to take that thesis and you're going to stuff it so full of sheep nasties that it's about to explode. Now, in the examples of theses that I mentioned earlier, notice that they are not elegant, they are not spectacular, but they are specific. That first student wrote about exactly what changed. At first, the colonists were just questioning British policies, and by the end, they were calling for full-blown revolution. And the second thesis argued that there wasn't much change because there was a continuing resistance to the patriot cause. Again, specific. Now, I myself would prefer more specificity than just that. For example, here's an elegant thesis on the same prompt. From 1763 to 1783, ideas of American independence changed from the colonies blindly accepting the tyranny of the British by religious rights of divine kings to believing in natural rights of individuals against British rule.
And here's a fun part. As your theses get better, you can actually see how these, if you have a strong thesis, the DBQ writes itself. Let me show you how. You can see the thesis on your screen. Let me take that out of the way. So from 1763, the ideas, it's at 83. The ideas of American independence changed from the colonies blindly accepting the tyranny of British by religious rights of divine kings to believing in natural rights of individuals against British rule. I can tell you right now, this essay is going to be 4 paragraphs. I don't even need to read it, but I can tell you by reading the thesis, it's 4 paragraphs. Ask me how I know. Did you ask me?
How do you know?
For asking me. I appreciate that. Thank you, Anastasia. You know how I know? It's right here. Can you guys see my mouse pointer? I forget if you can see you can see it? Okay. My first paragraph is my contextualization and my thesis. We'll learn this. I'm going to present to you guys an outline soon of a DBQ. Like, it's literally, you could plug stuff in and it's going to be easy. Okay. First paragraph, contextualization, thesis. Your second paragraph is your first body paragraph with your first argument. The first argument in this thesis is that it changed from the colonies blindly accepting the tyranny of British religious rights of divine kings. That's my first argument. So I'm going to have all the documents that work with that in that second paragraph. So I'll group document 1, 3, and 6 together. those are the documents that support my argument that the colonies used to blindly accept the tyranny of the British religious rights of divine kings. Yay. The third paragraph will be my second argument. And my second argument in my thesis, that it changed to believing that natural rights of individuals against British rule. So we now change from this to believing in natural rights. And I'm going to have all the other documents, 2, 4, and 7, maybe, that now support that particular argument, which is that, that believing in natural rights against British rule. And then my fourth paragraph is going to be where I restate my thesis and my strongest arguments. That's my conclusion. If you have a strong thesis, the paper writes itself. It tells you what to write, when to write it. This is why theses are so important. Did you guys follow me with the 4 paragraphs so far? Okay. Let's keep going.
Ooh, that's just tasty. That argument is very specific. The tyranny of the British, the divine right of kings, natural rights. That haggis is about to burst. But here's the thing. All the theses that I've read you so far earned the point. You see, your thesis does not have to be elegant to get the point. It just has to be argumentative and specific. Now, for some of you, that's enough. But others of you might appreciate a formula, and I've got one for you. That intrepid AP history teacher, John Irish, has given us what I think is a marvelous formula for a complex thesis. Let's go look at it. The formula is this. Although X, A and B, therefore Y. Although X, A and B, therefore Y.
So this is the formula for a thesis, and he's going to kind of break it down for you guys. This is how he likes to make complex theses. Me personally, making those complex theses are pretty tough still. Even myself, I'm sometimes coming up with these complex theses are still pretty tough. So for you guys, pay attention to what he's saying, but I'll show you another way to do it when we do this soon. So you'll have this complex way, and you'll have a more simplistic way. But no matter what, remember what he said. As long as the thesis is argumentative and defensible, you're going to get the point. Doesn't matter how elegant, as you put it, it is.
Now, in this case, X is going to be the best argument against your argument, which is to say, the best counter-argument. A and B are going to be your evidence, and then Y is your argument. Now, let me give you another example of this in response to the prompt that we've been considering. Although most colonists identified in the beginning of the American Revolution as part of the British people and only sought greater representation, there's your X, that was the counter-argument. The continued contention over economic policies, there's your first piece of evidence, A, and political autonomy, B, forced many colonists to strive for a new identity as an independent America. That's your argument, Y, and that's what you're going to argue in the essay. Now let me tell you something, even though you can get the point for a simpler thesis like I mentioned before, it's better to argue for a complex thesis like this, because if you do, then you are setting yourself up later to get the complexity point. You see, if you can argue in an essay both the argument that you think is right and the best counter arguments, and you can say, well, it's kind of this and kind of that, but mostly this, then you are on your way to getting a complexity point. And by the way, the thesis that I just read was from a student who got a 7 on their essay. Okay, one more last piece of instruction about your thesis and where it should go in your essay. According to the rubric, you need to put your thesis all in one place, either at the front of the essay or at the end of the essay. And traditionally, most people put their thesis up front. And the advantage of putting it first is that you already know the structure of your essay because your thesis, remember, is your argument in miniature. But some people like to put it at the end of the essay. And if I were writing a DBQ, I would probably put it at the end. And the reason for this is that I think by writing. I can't just think of stuff in my head, have the argument fully formed, and then just go write it out. I have to figure out what I'm going to say by actually saying. And so I don't even know.
This is where I disagree with Heimler. Okay, I completely disagree on this. For me, guys, I will show you a formula to write a DBQ. Contextualization, thesis, first paragraph, done. Topic sentence, argument analysis, topic sentence, and you repeat that for your body paragraphs. The way I try to teach you guys is a simple way to do it where you can still be successful. Last year, the students, okay, and this was during, you know, the pandemic and everything like that, they had to do this essay, a DBQ. That was their entire year, bogged down to just doing a DBQ. And that's when we were making sure that we got this formula down, and over 30% of them passed the exam. That's over, I think it was 15% over the state average for ninth graders. So I do like having it at the beginning because it reminds you and shows you your structure for the essay. Because sometimes you guys write and you'll just be meandering through an essay and you keep writing things, but you're not actually saying anything. You know, these kind of people that talk to hear themselves talk, they talk a lot, but they don't really say anything profound. It's the same thing with some of your essays. The best way to do it is just strict. For you guys as ninth graders, is just strictly, boom, here's contextualization, boom, here's my thesis, here's the argument, first argument for my thesis, here's the second argument for my thesis. And you kind of are very straightforward and to the point.
Know what my argument's going to be until I've written it out. So if you're like that too, don't sweat it, just put your thesis at the end.
So I hope I've shared enough to get you guys at least working with the thesis. Don't be intimidated by the thesis. It's actually one of the easier skills, I think, to make, making connections between the documents. I think it's actually easier than analysis. So generally, I try to get my students to get the thesis point before anything else, because that sets up the rest of your essay. We have about 20 plus minutes left. Why don't you guys take some time to finish up the homework? I'm gonna stop the recording now. Still watching you, Mr. Lamar.